represent everyone's you and our verse. We're gonna do a video on the moon in Virgo with the sun in Leo. Also, we got Mercury retrograde in Virgo as well. But first, we're gonna get into the music. Lessons of life, walking a tightrope underneath the microscope. I begin to end the host. Connected to a rope, physical and spiritual split. Eyes closed, eye open, aspirations. Dreamt to take form, intuition, attraction, brought into life the separate dimension. Lucid dreaming, this matter is foreign, never before seen, but path is foreseen. Stairway to heaven, we elevate again. Tripulate the time, space, matter in my hand. Matter at hand, does man even care for the land? Open up forbidden eyes, attention blocking sixth sense, conservation of the true life. This my birthright, what I was born with, my essence, born to defeat the misconception. They blocking our chakras, this melting pot like molten lava. Ask to imitate, you don't hear nada. Cause all I can be is a representation of myself. It's all perceptive perceptions, it's how one eye see it. Ask a God body, did you know he's nobody? Ask a God body, did you know he's nobody? It's how one eye see it. It's how one eye see it. Sunrise, gotta get it again. Verse 24 to make Aurora Borealis, Paleowasophy. Remember what you was meant for? Born from four circles, originally a spirit, forming an aura around, repeat it again. Crystal clear, eyes sitting on top of foreheads. My moral is this angel is. Stars in the sky, the sky's the limit. One love, stilo, I know. You living in our spirit, I know. In the sky, a possibility beside, immortal I be. Ask a God body, did you know he's nobody? Ask a God body, did you know he's nobody? My life in the sight of God's memory. Walking a tightrope underneath the microscope. I begin to end the destitution. Common man place to solve the space. Time didn't exist until you let it. I'ma need some letters to cope this. The rhetoric, watch yourself, vision of three. Third person knowing nothing so they know I can see. Every day, AK, this system ain't corruption. I let it pierce through your ear and corruption. No less knowledge in abundance. Lord of the land when I'm roaming on this earth. Write your own raps, millions on the table. But the mental, still trapped in stables. Lead a horse to drink, just that water you may sip. Conscious flow like the water in the moon. Invariably shift the moon from the seven seas. Flow evolve, never eroded. Shit, we encoded what it's like. Do you need me to reappear again? Sapient, but my soul is infinite. Last verse, last verse. Might have many sons from mother living under one solar eclipse when the artificial moon steady drift. The solar plexus everywhere where you belong. The time is a bliss, reality Aquarius. What this moment is, time to shine. Our lives confined in due time. Either now in carved carcasses, watching moonwalk. We've been stressing too long. Because never ever got something wrong, but you tripping in your head about past and future creation. Everything for you, everything, yeah, this is for you, Get out and create, get out and create every day. Get out and create every day. Alright, so we gonna get into it. We got the waxing moon in Virgo with the sun in Leo, and then we also have the Mercury in retrograde in Virgo as well. So keep in mind at this point in time, those past thoughts or thoughts that you wanted to review and things like that, that's going to be on your mind at this point in time. That's going to be in your emotional state as well, based on the moon in Virgo being the details, right? And feeling comfortable in the details or the critique, or feeling comfortable at being at work, right? You don't want to think too hard about, you know what I'm saying, things at work at this point in time. Yeah, shout out to Unknown. Salute, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Blake, and shout out to Aloria Wagner, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all tapping in. And with all this being said, like I say, we got Mercury retrograde also conjuncting the moon, right? So we're going to be feeling comfortable thinking about past circumstances, situations. And you want to like double check your connections and things like that, like double check your vehicles and things of that nature at this point in time. That's some Mercury retrograde type stuff. Like at this, you know what I'm saying? It's like we also have the what's it called, the market fall as well. You know what I'm saying? The market is falling at this point in time, Mercury retrograde. This is kind of like the sneak peek into how the Virgo season is going to be at this point in time, because you know what I'm saying, keep in mind, I'm gonna jump to it, we also have the moon opposing Saturn and Neptune, right? Because Saturn is reality or restriction, and based on this reality or restriction being in Pisces, it's like essentially we're feeling opposite to reality at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? If you look at what is actually being publicized and things like that, we could see that every single day and things like that. So you know what I'm saying, it's pretty simple to see how our emotional state is being affected at this point in time based on reality being opposite to that, opposite to the actual details we feel comfortable with at this point in time. And we keep in mind it's also Neptune. So the delusion, illusion, and nightmares are also opposite to our way of feeling as well. You know what I'm saying? Based on Moon and Virgo, opposite Neptune and Pisces, right? So with this being said, like I said, we also have Mercury being in Venus, right? Pardon me, Mercury and Venus being in Virgo, also conjunct the moon, right? So the moon conjuncting Venus at this point in time is kind of in a difficult state based on Mercury being debilitated in Aries, Virgo, and Scorpio, right? Because Virgo is more of like a critique or a critical sign, and Venus is all about oh, that's my little my plant, you know what I'm saying? And I got my little dragon, you know what I'm saying? My other side. Y'all can't see that right now. But yeah, that's me in the window, you know what I'm saying? That's my ghost, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Steve Rogers. I know you making jokes. But yeah, you're saying individuals couldn't even be in my window. It wouldn't even happen like that. But yeah, with this being said, like I said, we also have Venus being in that debilitated state at this point in time based on it being in Virgo. So essentially, at this point in time, we're going to be valuing being critical or being more in our details at this point in time, comparatively to Venus being at home and being at home in Taurus, and also being exalted in Pisces, you know what I'm saying, and also being at home in Libra. So we're one space away from it actually being at home, being in Libra at this point in time. I'm saying, so we just kind of got to work with what we got in the Venus energy at this point in time and value the certain details that we're working with to then in turn get to that home state being Venus and Libra, right? So over this next, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks that until Venus moves to the next sign. So essentially, the remainder of this Leo season, you know what I'm saying, a part of the Virgo season at this point in time. And shout out to the Soccer King, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, moving forward, we also have the moon squaring Mars and Jupiter, right? Based on Mars being in Gemini and then Jupiter being also in Gemini. So Gemini is all about this two-sided energy and being able to see the truth from the two sides. You know what I'm saying? So you got 3 sides to every story. You got one person's side, the other person's side, the actual truth of the matter at this point. You know what I'm saying? And with this being said, it being in the Mars energy, it's essentially our intentions and our passions. So we're going to be having Virgo here, right, in the moon, is going to be squaring Mars and Jupiter. So a square is all about a learning opportunity, the opportunity to learn. So essentially we're feeling comfortable having in the details and learning about those details based on our intentions and our passions and our communication styles. So like you might have a certain conversation that's very passionate, you might actually learn from based on the emotional state that you're in. You know what I'm saying? So you might be at a point in time where you're like critical about your own self and critical about the emotions of others to a point where, you know what I'm saying, you end up being in this passionate space. And moving forward, we also have, like I said, Jupiter being in Gemini. So expansion of the conversation or expansion of the environment at this point in time. So we're essentially, based on the moon squaring Jupiter, it's going to be in a space where we have to learn about learn from our emotional state to actually expand our circumstance situation. You know what I'm saying? Based on like trying to find that puzzle piece. Like that's how I like to break down Jupiter and Gemini. It's like Jupiter is in the best state being in Gemini opposite to Sagittarius. Sagittarius is at home in Jupiter. Pardon me, Jupiter is at home in Sagittarius and Pisces, right? And exalted in Cancer. So it's essentially one space away, like kind of alike to that Venus energy. It's one space away from the actual good alignment. So at this point in time, we kind of got to work with what we got and find that certain puzzle piece to get ourselves to that exalted space being Jupiter and Cancer, right? So we're learning from our emotional state and our ways of being critical about our own emotions and feelings at this point in time to actually expand our circumstance situation. And we have those certain communication styles or conversations that could actually benefit us to put that in that exalted space whenever Jupiter moves. And then we also have the moon trining Uranus, right? And the trine is all about the gift. So it's a 120-degree angle. And essentially the moon trining Uranus is essentially having the gift to be your own individual at this point in time. So based on those certain details that you feel comfortable with, you can actually see, okay, I'm utilizing certain aspects that nobody else is utilizing. So then it's in turn allowing me to be my own individual self and rebel and oppose. So essentially, Uranus is also that rebellion as well. So to rebel and oppose, you have to have something to rebel and oppose against. So essentially, the society that we're in at this point in time is having individuals in a space where they're kind of mentally ill and things like that. So like being your own individual self can actually be beneficial, and you're able to actually ground that based on you having the gift of your own critical or in detail ways of feeling about your own individual circumstance situation. And last but not least, because I already broke down the opposition, we go ahead and break down the inconjunctions, right? So inconjunction is also a misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? And another term for it in astrology is called the quincunx. If you want to get real technical with it. But at the end of the day, it's a 150-degree angle. So anything for Virgo that's in Aries or anything that's in Aquarius is that 150-degree angle. So we have the North Node being in Aries. We also have Chiron being in Aries, and then Pluto being in Aquarius, right? So at this point in time, we may misunderstand our purpose based on us being so critical about our emotional state at this point in time, to the point where we don't allow ourselves to be an individual at this point in time. So, you know what I'm saying? You want to be in a space where, okay, I'm not so critical about myself to the point I'm actually not being my own individual self to be on my purpose. And I realize that I can't actually be comfortable in an uncomfortable space, because uncomfortability creates growth. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be in that space to actually grow, and you may misunderstand that. You know what I'm saying? Based on that 150-degree angle. Like I say, Chiron is also in Aries, and the Chiron is the wounded healer that can essentially teach others and learn, you know what I'm saying, from your circumstance situation. So being in a space where your individuality is like wounded to a point where you realize, like, dag, like if I stay on this certain path and stay on this individual path, then it might not actually be the most most beneficial space. You know what I'm saying? So those certain details that you're dealing with emotionally at this point in time may put you in a space where you're like, dag, I know I'm being wounded on my path, but at the end of the day, if I stay on my path and stay consistent, I know I'll actually benefit at this point in time. And that's where that misunderstanding lies. Like, it's like, dag, I want to be feeling comfortable with my certain details, but essentially to become an individual or be my individual self, I do have to go through trials and tribulations to, you know what I'm saying? Like, essentially, the phrase I would give you is like, you got to go through it to get to it. You know what I'm saying? Based on all this Aries energy being in North Node and Chiron. And like I say, last but not least, it's also misunderstanding Pluto. You know what I'm saying? So those certain details is kind of alike to our Chiron energy at this point in time. Like Chiron, Aries and Aquarius are kind of alike in that aspect, where they're both individualistic. So this Plutonian energy is essentially transforming our association, or transforming our way of interacting with the group at this point in time. So these certain details that you're either feeling comfortable with or feeling critical about oneself, you may misunderstand what you actually need to transform. So like, don't conform to a society at this point in time. You want to be your own individual self. You know what I'm saying? And get your own individuality out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, for a perfect example, like, be your own public persona. Essentially have your own voice and utilize that voice. Like, YouTube is a perfect example of that. Like, everybody that's a content creator and actually being genuine with their own self, they're being their own news outlet to a point where they actually benefit others and benefit themselves. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, we've been shown over the past couple of years, I'm not going to get too in depth with it, that our voices are just as powerful as the individuals that are actually paying for promotion and things like that voice as well. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna, like I say, I'm not going to get too far into that. It's an algorithm. Algorithms be, you know what I'm saying, active and things of that nature. Shadow ban is real. But yeah, moving forward, we're going to go ahead and get into the rising signs. And we're going to start with Virgo based on the moon being in Virgo, right? So if you have an ascendant, first house, or rising in Virgo, you're essentially dealing with the individual details at this point in time, or being critical about your own individuality at this point in time, or your personal affairs. So essentially, you either feel comfortable or uncomfortable with your own personal affairs at this point in time. And essentially, how I like to break down the first house, to put yourself in that higher octave, just be comfortable with yourself and put yourself in that higher octave to a point where I am me and no one else is me. Like, a perfect example of what I'm trying to get across is, like, if you don't speak your truth, nobody's going to speak it for you. So you have to be your own individual self and go ahead and be unique. And moving forward, Leo rising is having the second house being in Virgo, and the second house is all about your values. So essentially, your values of a person, place, thing, or idea. So essentially, you're reviewing the details of your values at this point in time. And keep in mind, we also have Mercury being in Virgo, which is in retrograde. So essentially, we're seeing those past values and seeing if it's actually beneficial at this point in time if you want to view that Leo rising. So like the way you've been making money, is it actually to a point where you're stacking up the money and you're actually seeing yourself benefit from that? It's a perfect example. Like if you're on the higher octave. If you're on that lower octave, maybe you kind of like, we'll just say, screwing off your money. You go into the club every night and you ain't actually benefiting from that. Like you're not even to a point where these places that you're going to, for example, you don't find value in that, and you can't actually see yourself being in that space, you know what I'm saying, accumulating funds, so to speak. Moving forward, we have the Cancer rising, you know what I'm saying, having the third house being in Virgo. And the third house for, Cancer and Virgo are a sextile. So essentially, Cancer is going to see the opportunity to be critical or critique the details of their environment at this point in time. So essentially, is your environment to a space where you can see the details actually benefiting from you, and you actually see yourself continuing to work with this environment to a point where these individuals in your environment, like another great example of how I like to break down the third house. Like if you're an artist and you have producers and you have engineers in your environment, then that's actually a beneficial environment because it's going to help you get your music out. Or you have a cameraman in your environment. Those kind of three things, if you're an artist, are going to put you on that higher octave, being, I'm saying, having that sextile being in the third house. You know what I'm saying? So Cancer is going to see the details of their emotions at this point in time and see if this environment is actually a space that they can feel comfortable. And like I say, that's how you get on the higher octave, is see like what you can, who or what you can actually benefit from. Pardon me, kind of skipping over my words. You know what I'm saying? Mercury and Sagittarius, I like to express the vision before it actually gets all to the forefront and be expressing my knowledge and wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of want to slow it down and things of that nature to actually get it across to y'all. That's something that Mercury and Sagittarius deal with, Mercury and Aries deal with, and Mercury and Leo deal with. We kind of like always like to speak quickly, and we like to get that vision out, and we like to express that, you know what I'm saying, to a point where you can actually see the vision and see what we're thinking about. That's a left field thing. But keep in mind, like a perfect example of this, though, I got my Mercury squaring up to this Mercury at this point in time. My Mercury's in Sagittarius, so it's a square to the Mercury in Virgo. I need to learn to be more detailed in my ways of communicating and thinking. So I'm saying having a template is a beneficial thing, being a Mercury in Sagittarius for me at this point in time. A perfect example. Off of the tangents, we're going to move forward to Gemini rising, first house and ascendant. So Gemini is a square to Virgo. So essentially, you're learning to be more critical or critique your private details at this point in time. So I'm saying the people in your home, you're learning how to actually get that message across and see what is in your home that you're saying you have past circumstances, situations that you were thinking about based on the retrograde. Are these actually beneficial in your home? Like, do you actually have that space to think to yourself, and space that you actually have the ability to keep clean, so to speak? Like Virgo is that cleaning up energy. You know what I'm saying? Virgo likes to make sure that everything's in place. So essentially, you're learning to put everything in place and not be so scatterbrained at this point in time based on you utilizing these past circumstance situations and seeing where it didn't actually benefit you. Now, whenever it gets out of a shadow or retrograde, another name for retrograde is shadow, you're going to see, okay, where can I actually put these things in this space that I can actually see myself having a non-scatterbrained way of thinking. Like I can actually utilize this template and utilize this thing in this space to benefit oneself. And that's how you put yourself in the higher octave. But yeah, moving forward, we're going to go ahead and get into the Taurus rising and Taurus ascendant, or first house. And with this being said, Taurus is going to have the fifth house in Virgo, and this is a trine. So the trine is a gift, 120-degree angle. So essentially, the Taurus is having the gift to express their details or express their critique at this point in time. So like Taurus is finally getting their stuff off, you know what I'm saying, to a point where you actually can see what's on the Taurus mind at this point in time. And essentially the Taurus is also seeing past ways of expressing themselves to a point where, okay, now I can actually make more sense, and I have the gift to see where I'm making sense at this point in time. And keep in mind, it's going to move back into Leo, you know what I'm saying? It's going to retrograde all the way back to Leo. Mercury is, you know what I'm saying, to a point where the Taurus has the gift now, but whenever it moves back to Leo, it's going to be in that square circumstance situation. Whenever it moves back to I'm saying Leo, I'm gonna go ahead and break that down. You know what I'm saying? But at this point in time, you having the gift to express your details, or express your thoughts of the details. So essentially, you're feeling comfortable expressing yourself at this point in time with the moon here, or you feel uncomfortable in your expression at this point in time. And it kind of goes back to the first house breakdown. It's like to a point where if you don't speak your truth, nobody will speak it for you. So essentially, Taurus got to go ahead and utilize this gift at this point in time to express themselves. Moving forward, Aries is having the sixth house being in Virgo, and the sixth house is in conjunction or a misunderstanding to the first house. So Aries is kind of misunderstanding a detailed routine and pattern, because Aries likes to just go ahead and ram into everything, you know what I'm saying, and do whatever they have first thing on their mind kind of thing. Or like they run down the hallway and don't actually look twice, you know what I'm saying? They don't actually look to see what's on the left or what's on the right and what could actually benefit them. So essentially, the Aries needs to realize that they're misunderstanding at this point in time the certain details that they're skipping over and things of that nature. So Aries, you kind of want to slow it down and not be so initiative and creative. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm breaking down. Like, yeah, that's a perfect shout out to Mary. You kind of like getting into that Uranus energy. It's like everybody might not agree with you, but you got to go ahead and speak your truth, just because that's the actual truth you got to speak. I'm saying that Mary said, no one's going to like what I have to say or like me for saying it, but I should. And that's like Virgo energy, you know what I'm saying? And everybody like might not like that Virgo until they actually start improving their life, until they realize like, oh dang, like that Virgo was right. Those actual details that they were talking about, or that routine and pattern that I was in, is actually not beneficial. And then they're starting to realize like, yeah, maybe I should get off my butt and go ahead and go on a walk in the morning instead of just laying in my bed all night. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, like I'm saying, it's like kind of like that Uranus energy. You're so rebellious to the circumstance situation that at this point in time, you have that gift based on the moon, you're saying, to be that individual. But yeah, so essentially for the Aries at this point in time, you want to put yourself in that higher octave of realizing, putting yourself in a routine and pattern, or being in a certain detailed pattern to a point where you can actually get on, be on time for work, or get to work on time and things like that, is actually going to be beneficial at this point in time. And you're also going to be able to see that past routine and pattern that you were in, see where it was not beneficial. Pisces rising, or ascendant, or first house, is essentially going to have that opposition, that 180-degree angle. So you can either add on or oppose the details of your relations or relationship. So with this being said, either you feel comfortable being critical, either you feel comfortable being critical at this point in time because your relationship is strong, or you're on the circumstance situation where you have to be opposite to even oneself, and to a point where you just want to adapt and just kind of like lay low, so to speak. So you either feel comfortable in your relationship or uncomfortable in your relationship at this point in time, Pisces. And to be on that higher octave, you want to find that proper relationship to accumulate based on us having a waxing moon instead of a waning moon. So essentially, we're gaining more accumulation instead of, I'm saying, releasing it based on, I'm saying the waxing moon is adding accumulation. The waning moon is shedding things like that you've already accumulated. So Pisces, you want to see, I'm saying, what relationship could actually benefit you, or what you could relate to and add on to at this point in time. Aquarius rising is having the 8th house being in Virgo, right? And this 8th house is also a misunderstanding, just like the Aries is a misunderstanding to the Virgo as well. You know what I'm saying? So Aquarius has Virgo in the 8th house. That's a 150-degree angle to the Virgo energy, right? So at this point in time, you may misunderstand the details of a rebirth. You know what I'm saying? Because the Aquarius is a fixed energy. They like to be consistent or stubborn upon their ways of thinking and communicating. And based on them being in this certain thought process, they might be in a certain space that you don't actually feel comfortable rebirthing yourself, or feel comfortable transforming oneself, or becoming that phoenix. So essentially, you want to kind of stop being so stubborn to a point where you can actually see, okay, where do I need to adapt to actually have a beneficial transformation? Or what do I actually need to accumulate or add on to oneself to see myself in a beneficial circumstance? Moving forward, the Capricorn rising is having the 9th house being in Virgo. And keep in mind, the 9th house to Virgo is, Capricorn's 9th house is Virgo. and it's having this trine, like, so essentially a 120-degree angle, and the 120-degree angle, keep in mind, aka the trine, is a gift. So essentially, the Capricorn is having the gift to have a detailed expression at this point in time, or express the details of their morality at this point in time. So, I'm saying, go ahead and speak your truth, so to speak. Like, the Capricorn's going to make sense. I'm saying, they're going to always initiate in creative, logistical, practical ways of being at this point in time, and their personality is that way. So, essentially, you want to see yourself utilizing that gift to see what is the previous ways that I've expressed myself, or those previous, experiences that you've been in that are actually not beneficial. And now you can see, okay, what do I actually want to add on to my spaceship? I'm saying, to benefit from oneself in my morality, or my experience, so to speak. So you either feeling comfortable in your experiences at this point in time, Capricorn, or you feeling uncomfortable at this point in time on the lower octave. So essentially, your experience that you're dealing with, you want to see, okay, where could I actually find the gift? And where could I actually see myself utilizing this morality to see where I could use it, so to speak, like Capricorn is used. Just to keep that in mind, you know what I'm saying? Like Virgo is adapt, Capricorn is use, and Taurus is work, you know what I'm saying, if you want to break down the earth signs. Moving forward, the Sagittarius rising is having the 10th house being in Virgo, and the 10th house to Sagittarius being Virgo is a square. So essentially, you're learning the details of a status, or learning to how to critique oneself to actually have a more beneficial status at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? So Sagittarius kind of just got to get more real with themselves and see what is actually a routine and pattern that they could utilize to actually have a beneficial status. And like I say, keep it real with yourself. Like, if you're in a career path that actually is non-beneficial, you don't see yourself continuing to accumulate in this space, you want to see, okay, what do I need to change up, or what do I need to adapt to and be more practical about to actually have a status I feel more comfortable with at this point in time, being Sagittarius rising. Moving forward, the Scorpio rising is having the 11th house being in Virgo, and the 11th house is all about association, public persona, your associates or association, like I say, kind of the same thing. So at this point in time, the Scorpio is having the sextile to the Virgo energy, so they're seeing the details of an associate, or seeing the details of association. So like those certain groups that the Scorpio is a part of, they can see, are they actually benefiting me at this point in time, or is it non-beneficial being around these individuals? And these certain details that I see, do I actually want to shed those things at this point in time and accumulate different things at this point in time to put yourself in that higher octave? But if you're already in that higher octave, you can see, okay, who can I add to the group, and who can I see as a part of my group? You know what I'm saying? A sextile, 60-degree angle, seeing the opportunity. And last but not least, the Libra rising is having the 12th house being in Virgo. So essentially, Libra is detailing the dream, or seeing the past details of this dream that they're dealing with. Are they seeing these things actually accumulate at this point in time? And do you feel comfortable continuing to dream this dream, so to speak, on the higher octave? Or if you're in that lower octave, you're seeing like, dang, like, I feel kind of uncomfortable based on this dream being delusional at this point in time. And it's like opposite to reality, you know what I'm saying? So like, keep that in mind. Like I say, because the moon is going to be opposite to Saturn. Or the moon is close to being opposite to Saturn at this point in time. So they are in opposite signs, but not exactly the same degree. So it hasn't hit that direct 180-degree opposition. So keep that in mind at this point in time. You're going to see, is this dream actually something I could accumulate in reality? Or is it so far out to the point where I could never achieve it? Or I never feel comfortable reaching for this horizon, so to speak, being that Libra rising. And yeah, pretty much if you want to break anything else down about the moon in Virgo, the sun in Leo, it's to put it all in a nutshell, you know what I'm saying? We're accumulating new details, or accumulating new things to adapt to, or logistical things to utilize to actually see the stage be a more better, like a better light show, or a better presentation, so to speak. So like, for example, if you're a performer on stage, you take an action on stage, you're seeing, what could I actually add to the show to make it pop more, so to speak, at this point in time? Or what could I actually value about, like, what could I add value to my show with? You know what I'm saying, so to speak. Like, if you're a performer, maybe you want to add more fire to the show, or you want to add like background dancers at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? And actually be more detailed in your choreography is a perfect example of it. So yeah, that's like an easy way to break down the moon in Virgo, the sun in Leo. But keep in mind, like I say, we also have this Mercury in retrograde. So essentially, we're going to see these past thoughts and past observations that we were dealing with, and we're actually seeing like, dang, these things are either delusional or they actually are based in reality, to a point where, yeah, having background dancers might be a more beneficial thing, but can I actually pay them out? Do I have the funds? Do I have the values? You know what I'm saying? Leo in the first house being the sun, you know what I'm saying? And then Virgo being in that second house of the sun right now, you know what I'm saying? Are you seeing those details to a point where you could actually accumulate new things, and those accumulations can actually be beneficial to a point where you pay the background dancers out, and now you have a better show. Now you got more people coming to your show. Simple as that. So yeah, peace and love. If you believe in all that, you can holler back at me. You know what I'm saying? You can hit me in the Cash App at CONSCIOUS1347. That's a method of payment, you know what I'm saying, for if you were looking to get a reading, or if you just want to show some love, like any kind of reading that you would want to get, you know what I'm saying. You could also email me at conscious1347@gmail.com. That's CONSCIOUS1347@gmail.com. And I provide all different kinds of readings. You know what I'm saying? I'll go ahead and send you a menu whenever you send me an email about your details and things like that. So much love and peace if you believe in all that. You know what I'm saying? Stay safe. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing. Stay pardon me. Stay safe or dangerous. Dag, you know what I'm saying? I like breaking this part down, but it's stay safe or stay dangerous, whatever's necessary. Salute.